Every person's mind functions on two levels. Conscious part, which involves the perception of every mental process and content and its impact on us. The unconscious part of the mind are all mental processes and contents that a person does not perceive, but they affect them to a greater or lesser extent. If we were aware in every moment and situation of absolutely every calculation that the brain makes, every chain of motivation, all life events that affect us in an instant, the conscious part of the mind would be unnecessarily overloaded and we would become dysfunctional. Some people are mostly rational, while others listen more to the voice of intuition. How well do you know yourself, and do you know what type of person you are? We will help you with the following example. You are in the waiting room. Next to you sits a young man waiting like you. It is crowded and the wait is prolonged. You exchange a few formal sentences with him at first, but he is very communicative, and as time goes on, you get deeper into the conversation and start to get to know each other better. As you talk, you observe him and think about him, and you, or rather the conscious part of your mind, logically and analytically, processes any information about that person that comes to you through previous knowledge and life experience. In accordance with your analysis and assessment, you conclude the following. You conclude that he is pleasant as a person, positive, well-dressed, neat, and clean. He gives the impression of high socioeconomic status. He is smart, kind, and well-mannered, and he manages to make you laugh, which is a trait that you really appreciate in man. He is also very attractive to you, and you conclude that you want to get to know him better. This is how the predominantly rational type thinks. However, intuition works differently. As a predominantly intuitive person, while talking to the young man next to you, you are not trying to evaluate him or think about him in an analytical way. You are completely immersed in the conversation and the topic you are discussing. Your brain performs very complex analyses that you are not aware of, captures and analyzes signals of the man that you did not consciously notice, connects this man and his patterns of behavior with knowledge and huge chain of previous direct and indirect experiences, and sends you information in the form of a feeling or hunch without a conscious part of the mind involved at that moment. And so, although rationally speaking everything is ideal, there is an inner voice, a feeling of restlessness. Something tells you that you have a reason to be careful with that person, that it is best not to get closer to that man and leave. You will often hear people say that they feel someone's energy, so they like someone or not, without knowing anything about that person. That feeling of energy is precisely the intuitive perception and processing of all verbal and non-verbal signals that a person sends you, with an emphasis on the emotions that people send and with which your psyche resonates. Intuition processes more, better, and deeper, but does not give clear information. Instead, it gives you a feeling that is subsequently interpreted. We will usually intuitively feel something negative or positive without knowing exactly why. Rational conclusions are always clear, but often in such assessments, intuition offers more than rational analysis. Both intuition and rational analysis have their drawbacks. So, what are the shortcomings of pure rational analysis? First, a person may, due to inattention, psychological resistance, consciously or unconsciously omit essential elements in the analysis. A girl, for example, did not have an emotional relationship for a long time and met an attractive person who pays attention to her. She, as an emotional person, misses love so much that she neglected most of the things that are a serious problem with a potential partner and idealized him without noticing it. For such mistakes, unfortunately, the price is often paid, which results in great disappointments. Intuition very rarely omits variables, but it too can be ignored due to psychological resistance. Another problem with one-sided rational decision-making is the poor calculation of the information a person has, either due to lack of knowledge, life experience, or poor analytical skills. Intuitive reasoning is also at the forefront here and very rarely makes such mistakes. Now, you probably think that intuitive individuals have a big advantage over predominantly rational people, but that is not the case. Nothing is perfect, not even intuition, which can make serious mistakes. We will demonstrate this through an example. Your sister had a long relationship 10 years ago. She loved her partner very much, and then he suddenly, quite unexpectedly, cheated on her with her best friend, and it was a serious additional psychological burden for her. The relationship ended, and she went through emotional hell. That event hit you deeply, but it happened a long time ago, and you haven't thought about it at all for years. Yet, all that has happened is still there and is unconsciously affecting you. The man you are talking to has facial features reminiscent of your sister's ex-partner. The brain connects the facial features of these two people even though they realistically have nothing in common and gives you a false alarm. You intuitively feel the danger in the company of that man, and if the initial attraction was strong, even to the level of a panic attack, without knowing at that moment why. In this case, a panic attack is a sign of an activated psychological defense mechanism. Sudden, seemingly unreasonable occurrences of other emotional reactions directed at a person such as anger, contempt, hatred, and others are very possible. This mechanism in an otherwise mentally healthy person can be one of the causes of many neurotic symptoms such as anxiety, panic attacks, depersonalization, emotional instability, racing thoughts, bizarre phobias without obvious cause which cannot be associated with an unpleasant or traumatic experience, both direct and indirect. Such symptoms caused by such mechanisms seem to have appeared out of nowhere. Some examples of such phobias are, for example, the high level of irrational fear of historical figures such as Napoleon, the inexplicable and sudden phobia of chocolate, or breastfeeding by a mother who is otherwise a completely normal, healthy, and balanced person. Therapies that deal exclusively with symptoms are not ideal for the treatment of such deeper neurotic mechanisms, but their supportive role in symptom control is necessary. We will talk more about neuroses on other occasion. Intuition of an intuitive person due to high stress or under pressure tends to get completely blocked, and until such conditions change, predominantly intuitive person will not receive any intuitive signals. Rational calculation in a rational person can weaken, but far less often there is a complete blockage. If the intuitive message is not clear, or the calculation gives contradictory results, or if you have a conflict between the rational and the intuitive, which is often a problem with balanced types, give yourself time. Do not force assessment or decision making. The solution will surely come to you in time.